the beauty
Do you think
when I go to university. People don't really talk about the clubbing. The drinking culture is insane here, like compared to the US.
What do you not like about living in Korea?
Well, first of all, I'm scared of the ajumas. I feel like they do stare a lot if you're dressed a certain way or like a little odd. In terms of nightlife, like sometimes some Korean men are like a little too forward. The buses drive really crazy here, like Fast and Furious, yeah.
traffic? If you think LA traffic is bad, come to Seoul. It's like 10 times worse.
Where you from?
I'm from New York.
I'm from Mongolia.
Russia.
France.
I'm from Turkey.
I'm from America.
So I'm from France.
I'm from Denmark.
What's it like really living in Korea?
It's fun. It's fun. I think everyone should come, you know? I mean, try it at least once. I think that's the best way to describe it for me. It's fun, and I really enjoy it.
Should you move to Korea in your 20s?
I don't know if I could. It would be a big commitment, and I think I would have to think about like job and all that stuff. But I think I could see myself living in Korea maybe like for a year or two.
I have to admit that I have the white privilege here. However, I have a lot of my friends are from the black community or even like Muslim, Arabic, and they've been through a lot here, including discriminations, racism. And people need like to acknowledge that here it's still a thing. Like racism is still a thing.
I think it's nice. Like it's a very safe country. That's why I really like here. And also it's so convenient to get things when I need. Like 편의점s or convenience stores are everywhere. That's why I really like Korea.
I think it's fun. There's lots of things to enjoy, but it can definitely be a bit difficult as foreigner in terms of getting your documents together and adjusting to life here. But there are definitely things to enjoy.
I mean, very strange. So much different from like Europe, France. Like everyone is so polite, so nice. You know, in Paris, usually people are quite rude in my opinion. Like everything is clean. Yeah, I love it so far.
I would say it's actually pretty similar to where I grew up in. The people are generally very minding their own business, so I actually like that a lot. Other than that, I feel like the young people life is very like, there's a lot to do in terms of that, so it's kind of like fun and affordable for young people to live here, I feel like.
I'd say it's pretty fun and different from my own country, Denmark. I mean, lots of stuff is pretty different. Like I'm from a pretty small town in Denmark, from a place called Horsens. We're not that many people. It's like a semi-big town, but compared to like Sinchon and Seoul, it's like very different. Like everything's much bigger, and like there's so much stuff to do all the time. Just like the thing that stores are like open for so long is, you know, it's pretty nice.
I think the convenience and public transportation is my favorite part about coming to Korea. I think it's almost to the point where you don't really need to have your own car to go to places. It's more convenient to take the public transportation here.
For me, it's good. This is safe. It's comfortable. I absolutely understand for downside for living here. For example, sometimes communicating with Korean people is so difficult, and this is not about language. Because of mentality, it's so different.
What do you not like about living in Korea?
Well, first of all, I'm scared of the ajumas. I feel like they do stare a lot if you're dressed a certain way or like a little odd. In terms of nightlife, like sometimes some Korean men are like a little too forward. The buses drive really crazy here, like Fast and Furious, yeah.
I think a lot of things are kind of small, like living wise, because I'm in university and dorming and housing is small compared to my US university. And I think sometimes what I don't like is like it can be very lonely. Korean people more like tend to stick to with themselves than to go talk to foreigners like randomly. But I think my school, luckily, since I'm in university, it makes it a little easier. But I think it will be harder for someone who is not here for university.
I think this bank system is so old, and most important, the beauty industry is not developed still. Okay, makeup, okay, but the nails, for example, it's not.
The academic pressure, of course, some of them are a bit afraid of foreigners, I would say. It doesn't matter how many years you've been living in Korea, you'll always been seen as a foreigner, and that's something to know if you want to move here. Even though like you're fluent in Korean and you are even married to a Korean, you will always be seen and perceived as a foreigner. And you have to know that Koreans always team up with Koreans?
Traffic. If you think LA traffic is bad, come to Seoul. It's like 10 times worse.
Maybe beauty standards, because when I come to Korea first time, I got really good effect from Korean beauty standards. Actually, that's why I'm into the K-beauty. Korean beauty standards are the most things I hate about Korea.
I don't like how hard it is to fit in, and the language took some time to get used to. I'm still working on it. And I also don't like the lack of, diversity here. You don't see much of it, and I kind of miss a different kind of crowd, I guess.
I think people like sometimes tend to avoid you a bit, I guess, as a foreigner. I don't know, they're a bit apprehensive, a bit scared. I don't know, that's my only complaint, I would say, so far, yeah.
To begin with, I would say, because I'm not really that fluent in Korean, it was pretty difficult getting adjusted. When I just arrived here, there was like a lot of Hangul. So it was pretty difficult for me because I hadn't really learned Hangul before coming. I'm trying to learn a little bit. People say you can learn in an afternoon. It's taking more afternoons for me. But it's like, yeah, I'm trying a bit. It can be a bit difficult, so.
What's something about living in South Korea that people don't often talk about?
When I come here for the first time, my English was better than now, actually. But after like going to school in here or like working at a job in here, my English getting worse by day, I guess, because I need to talk in Korean like every day with my coworkers or my like friends.
People are not, and I mean that's a pity because people are not really talking about their past, the fact that the country is still at war. South Koreans are still very patriotic, and a lot of this comes from their past. And so I feel like to live here, you have to respect them, and in order to respect them, you need to understand what happened. Even with like the Japanese, it's a big thing here, and people are still very touched and moved.
People don't really talk about the clubbing, and I don't want to just talk about the clubbing. The drinking culture is insane here, like compared to the U.S. Like the way, like actually your university, like friends, and like your university environment, they encourage you to drink. I mean, it's their culture, so it's okay. But in the U.S., like colleges are really against drinking. Even when you're 21, they do not want you drinking. Because yeah, it's just USA. They really like drinking is really bad in college, but here it's kind of encouraged, and it's fun.
The transport, the subway is working so slowly in Korea. Koreans always said like, in Korea everything is pali, but no, it's not.
Is it faster back home?
Yeah. For example, in Moscow, subway is 3 minutes, it's next train, 3 minutes, it's next train. But here, you can wait in 10, 15 minutes, and that's okay.
In Korea, it's really safe. Most of the time, your bag's not gonna be stolen. There's a surveillance camera all over the place in Korea.
Because of this surveillance camera, like is that concerning as maybe someone that might be conscious about their privacy?
100%, because just know that everywhere you go, you're being filmed. I feel like that's the down part. I feel like being safe is great, but at the same time, just know that you're being filmed at all times.
I think a lot of the times because people are drawn to Korea from seeing K-pop groups or K-pop dramas, I feel like living in Korea is often romanticized. And I don't think people realize it's as difficult as it is. And I think a lot of people come to university here like me. And one thing I didn't realize is that they don't really offer you a lot of help. You're kind of on your own, and it's kind of advertised that you'll get a lot of help as a foreign student. But that's not necessarily the case. I mean, obviously it depends on the university as well. I would say the biggest example is when I first came to Korea, they said they would pick me up from the airport, and that didn't happen. And I had to go by myself. And they said there would be certain services provided, certain supplies supplied that I didn't have. So I was in quarantine without basic things and all that. And I think, yeah, that would probably be the biggest circumstance.
Maybe if you're like from Europe, going out to eat and stuff, because for me, at least in Denmark, like I don't really go out to eat that often and stuff. So here I go eating out all the time. I mean, it's just like a pretty small thing. So it's just like, oh yeah, this is like an eating out culture. And also just like attitude can be pretty different compared to my own country at least.
What are the biggest challenges or surprises about adapting to life in Korea?
Okay, for me, I feel like it was very easy to adapt just because it's, like I said, like similar to Mongolia. So there wasn't many challenges, I would say, but only sometimes people think I'm Korean, so they start talking Korean to me, which is kind of like off-putting. I get flustered a lot, so other than that, it's all been pretty good.
I guess food, because in here, foods are really like kind of spicy. And in my country, like my family doesn't eat like that much spicy food. Of course, we have spicy food in Turkey, but I don't eat that much. But here, like everything was so spicy. Now I just adapt to the eat spicy food, but for the first time, it was really challenging for me.
Obviously, the language is up there, but at the same time, Korea is very accessible to those that don't speak Korean as well. There's lots of resources and things, and they make it quite easy. I would say the biggest challenge was being homesick for me. Just it's a completely, the culture shock and missing my family and wanting to go back. So I would say the long-term culture shock and the language are the most difficult and surprising things to me.
How many languages do you speak?
I'm only fluent in English, but I've been working on my Korean.
I'd say the biggest challenge for me was communicating, like Seoul, Asian countries, but they don't usually speak English that much. Like communicating can be a bit of a barrier. I guess learning a bit like the language, how to communicate with people, learning how the culture, I guess, like how to behave with people. Like it's quite a challenge, but not so hard, and it's such a pleasure. You're learning things, so yeah.
If you're not prepared beforehand, if you don't try to learn at least a little bit of the language, I will say adjusting can be a bit hard. I have studied abroad in Japan before, and I feel like at least when I was in Tokyo, it was a bit more easy getting adjusted. There was a bit more English around. And here, when you get used to it, it's fine.
What's something about daily life in Korea that most people don't often expect?
When I come here for the first time, I couldn't go outside in the late night, because in my country, when I go to outside in the night, of course, by myself, it is really dangerous. But here, it's not that dangerous. I can go outside whenever I want, or wherever I want.
I think the cafe culture is really big here. People go there to hang out with friends or get their work done. A lot of my friends also, just every other day we go to a cafe, and that's a really big part of how you spend the day. And in terms of nightlife, going out for drinks and food, pocha is also very famous, and I feel like it's very unique to Korea. Pocha places are also very developed and everywhere, so it's really convenient. I just feel like the social life is very community oriented, and it's interesting.
Is there a pocha culture back in Mongolia?
I wouldn't say it's exactly pocha, but I do think it's very unique to Korea so far. Just people getting together for drinks and food, even after first time meeting. I think that's their way of building a community, making friends. I feel like it's pretty unique to Korea in terms of that. Yeah.
And why did you choose South Korea as your study exchange country?
Well, I was into Korean entertainment, obviously, but aside from that, I wanted to see if working here would also be interesting as well, and I don't know, I just like the vibes.
What's something that Koreans do daily that other people find very surprising?
They're very clean freaks. People wash their teeth after every meal, or just 4 or 5 times throughout the day, which you don't really go to a public bathroom in America and see someone brushing their teeth all the time. So I feel like it's kind of unique to Korea.
Did you pick up that habit after seeing that?
I think I've become more conscious of that, so you kind of just feel a little pressure to keep up with that.
I would say, I guess it's kind of random, but one thing that surprised me about daily life is you see people drinking coffee all hours of the day. It doesn't matter what time it is, and you see people drinking coffee, and that was kind of weird to me. And also, I would say not so much day life, but the nightlife is way more intense here. One thing that surprised me is that certain restaurants and things don't open until a lot later, because people are out a lot later, and everything is just a bit later orientated, if that makes sense, than what I'm used to.
I think actually something quite unique is university-wise, it's such huge campuses, and so many events. You just go straight to Hongdae, parties and bars and stuff, and actually that's something I haven't experienced as much in Paris, in my opinion. Yeah.
So people really don't care about you here at all. They are just busy living their own lives. They don't care if you're being hurt in the middle of the street. They don't care if you need help. You're just gonna have to power through it. You're not gonna get much of help here. I guess it does help you get stronger throughout the way. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't expect anyone to help you here. I think that's the cold reality of Korea.
What type of stereotypes do Koreans have of Russians?
Oh, you're Russian. In Russia, it's so cold. We drink vodka every day.
What do you secretly like about Korea but you're afraid to admit?
The fact that everyone is actually gorgeous. It's real, like it's a real thing. Compared to France, I feel like everyone is taking good care of themselves and they always seem very chic. It's so weird to say that, but like they smell like good, even though like after like 6 p.m., you know, when you take the subway in France, in Paris, for example, it's a bit smelly out there, you know what I mean? Like, however, here in Korea, everyone is so clean.